we're now making them to actualize the president's statement. We understand that a lot of diplomats they already know how to do, but we want to encourage the public, or maybe those who are like, okay, how do I help these people? So I'll get back to you on that. Hold the people accountable, which has to do with legal means and how they can help us. But there's something Dr. Fred Lobati said, which I also think that the South American community or Latin America, that Brazil in particular, that is the that occupies or has the highest black population, or what you call black population in the world. I would want us to talk to them more about French imperialism, French colonialism in Africa, so that they can really get to sync with our emotions, what we are going through with the French or the Franco-Cameroon hegemony. And I'll begin that with you, Dr. Fred Lobati.
Correct. So I will pick up where Barrister Fru was saying that Nigeria collaborated. If you guys remember, some people are observant enough to notice details. Macron was traveling across West Africa, went to Ivory Coast, Ghana, and then he came to Nigeria before the Naira 10 were picked up in Nigeria. He had audience with Buhari and claiming that he's building relationships. I personally think it was not just what was seen in the superficial. He went to Nigeria since our budding government was at the time thriving very well in Nigeria and negotiated with the Nigerian government to collaborate with the Republic government to pick them up. And then Nigeria collaborated with La Republic to pick up the Naira 10 and trick them. So again, you have to see the hands of the French. The French president went to Nigeria before our government was carried away. And it's the same thing. They always are subtle, hiding in the grass like a chameleon, so you don't notice them because they camouflage and change their color to look like the landscape. Yes, they were in Rwanda, just like they are even in Zaire and other places. They are not the only ones. They have collaborators because of the resources, and they were using the differences between the people, whether it's physical features or whatever, to commit the genocide that happened. There are details. If you care to read, you'll find out how French organized the whole thing from beginning to end. And we in Cameroon, particularly the former British Cameroon, we know the details of what the French have done throughout the years, using Ahidjo as the first president, deceiving us with promises that were never held, and then went further to bribe some of our founding fathers like Muna and the others. There are a lot of details I cannot bring out right now because the time is too short, using bribery and corruption to change the system in such a way that they now, using La Republique, control us in order to get the resources. That is why we have to see the hands of the French. They go like chameleons, changing their color to camouflage and look like the landscape so you don't see them. Macron went to Nigeria before the Naira 10 were picked up. The French are in it. Yes, you can pick the immediate person that is caught. Maybe you can call the banquet or whoever. Hopefully they are bold enough and that they are brought to book, and let them be bold enough to name the French. Yes, but the French do control them. Even the BA himself does not act independent. They must go to France and give an account and give accountability of their actions and get permission from France to do anything. Even ministers of French Cameroon sign an agreement with France to take office. And there are examples of that. That is what I'm talking about.
That's amazing. Barrister Fru, please.
Yes, to add to what Doctor has just said, the French actively participated in the genocide in Ambazonia. How? Do you know that the French, after the Americans put an arms embargo on La République de Cameroon, the French built an arm depot in Equatorial Guinea and kept supplying La République de Cameroon with sophisticated weapons. They even supplied them with some drones. We have evidence that some white people, some white Frenchmen were seen in Ambazonia during the war, during this war of independence. And France kept financing La Republic of Cameroon, supplying arms to La Republic of Cameroon through that arm depot in Equatorial Guinea. It was later blown up. I don't know who did it, but it was blown up, and that is ample evidence that France was actively working with the other partner, La Republic of Cameroon, to commit genocide on the people of the southern Cameroon, Ambazonia. And the French participation was quite direct. The French made no bones about it. Their pronouncements in Yaoundé and elsewhere were all geared towards eliminating or killing our people. And even as we speak, the French are still actively involved in military advising and military intervention in the war against Ambazonia by La Republique de Cameroon. They may not be on the field, but they are in what they call Coparang, the military Coparang in Yaoundé. They are working hands in glove with the Cameroon military against our people. And there's no way that we can extricate the French from the crime that have been committed on our people by La Republique of Cameroon. No matter what kind of legal jargon we use, the evidence is clear that they were participants. That is what I wanted to add to what Doctor said. Adi, are you there?
Yeah, so I thank you for that contribution, Barrister Fro. So this is where I want you both to come in, and I'll still stay with you, Barrister Fro. We now seeking for help from the Brazilian community, understanding politics the way it should be. How do you expect, from a legal standpoint, how can Brazil help us legally, either through diplomacy or by a case? That's the explanation I want you people to explain, because this message is currently being interpreted to them. Explain extensively and clearly in a way they can understand.
Brazil should take this our case to the General Assembly of the United Nations. That's first point. And plead our case to the United Nations, because the United Nations seems to be looking the other way. The second thing that Brazil can do is Brazil can sue La Republique of Cameroon on our behalf in the ICJ. Not the ICC, because there's already a case in the ICC, but in the ICJ. So those are the two things that Brazil can do to help the Southern Cameroons and Ambazonia. Brazil is a very respectable country in South America. They have the largest population in South America. They have the largest descendants of African people in South America. Therefore, they should be concerned with what happens to people of the homeland. And if the world is looking away from what is happening in Ambazonia, Brazil should be our savior, our friend who came to us in times of need. They should plead our case in the UN and get us because we have still not been decolonized. We are still under the yoke of the anti-colonialism that was supposed to have gone away. I mean, that was supposed to be operated by the UN during the days when the trust territories were being given their independence. The French and the British, whatever they did to us is still unknown. So Brazil should also liaise with the British diplomats to get their position on this matter, and then proceed to the United Nations General Assembly so that we can be admitted. We have our independence, but we don't have a seat in the United Nations. Brazil can plead that case for us. Brazil can after talking to the British diplomats to find out why they abandoned us in the middle of the sea before they proceed to ICJ to sue La République du Cameroon. And will not, why not bring the United Nations to answer as to what happened to the people of the southern Cameroons during the time of decolonization? That is what, as friends and brothers, they can do for us.
That's amazing. By Mbeseha, please.
Yeah, again, thank you for giving me the opportunity. But before I answer that question, let me clarify something. See,
Yes,
people don't
please.
understand. When we say that we have a case pending at the ICC, most people don't know what it's about. They don't know there's a case there. But how did we get there? By my own records, since this crisis started, crisis transformed into war in 2017, up to date, there are about 7 complaints pending at the ICC, fired by different groups and individuals of Ambazonia origin. Among them, for example, Akeremuna filed one, urging the ICC
It
to
was
take action.
dismissed. It was dismissed.
Pardon?
It was
Say what now?
dismissed.
Let me make my point, please. Let me make my point. None of those cases was taken up. I was trying to say there are 7. Akeremuna filed one. The former chief of the CDN filed one. But none of these petitions filed by Akeremuna and 6 others ever bore any fruit. Why? Because the ICC could excuse itself by saying that Cameroon is not a member country of the ICC. They have not signed up to the Rome Statute, and so they refuse to take action. Then we file one, which is what I'm trying to explain. So even Sanso will listen to me.
Now,
Probably
let
he
me
will not
ask
be
a quick
listening.
question before you move forward. There, I have to ask you a question, by Mbeseha. Why would Akeremuna, and what was the filing of Akeremuna? Akeremuna was filing against who? Against Biya, or against who? What was it? What? Because we know his
No,
stance.
I have his complaint. I have a copy of his complaint, but the fact is
So
that he
what
filed
is
one.
he? That's
Well,
what we want to know. Just be direct
please don't waste
about
your
it.
time there. Let me explain the point that is important here. We're going to go. I said it was not acted upon. Just like the one authority who was chief of the CDN. Why was it not acted upon? It was no lack of content. The simple reason was that they had complained against Cameroon. The ICC said that ICC was not, Cameroon was not a member state of the ICC. That was trying to
Yes.
tell you how, I was trying to explain now, which you are trying to cut me short. When we write that this shortcoming, we fight one, which they received and acknowledged receipt. But the one that we fired was different from the one of Akere and any other person. What made it different? In our own filing, we brought in Nigeria as an active participant in the genocide. Nigeria is a member state of the ICC. We cited, in fact, if they tell you that there are 98 accused persons, some of them are Nigerians. We cited
Yeah.
people who had broken the law and crossed to Nigeria to catch Sisiku with the cooperation of the Nigerian government, which was a breach of the law, and so on and so forth. That's what is important. Why our own application was accepted? Because you've talked about Nigeria. I'm trying to say Nigeria is really linked as even a defendant at the ICC when it comes to this genocide. They are linked officially in the filings that we have done. So they are accused, direct accused, not indirect accused, direct accused by the filing that we did to the ICC. And so that's what is important. After having said that, we now you ask what Brazil can do to us, because the president was addressing Brazil. Yeah, Brazil has a large black population, but that's not the most important thing. Brazil is one of the largest countries in Latin America. It's a powerful country, you cannot ignore. Above that, Brazil is a member of the United Nations. As a country, Brazil, if they so wish, they can assume universal jurisdiction in this matter. In other words, they can, by their own law, so prosecute genocide in Brazil. if we are concerned. There are Brazilian, there are Cameroonians, Ambazonians in Brazil who can serve as adequate complainants. That is doable. Brazil, as a country, can go to the United Nations General Assembly, just like South Africa took the case of Palestine
Mm-hmm.
to the RCJ. Why did South Africa do that? It was the war in Gaza. The war in Gaza showcased genocide beyond expectation. They can do that. But the International Court of Justice will not come and prosecute the case. If the issue is judgment, that judgment will be sent down to the Security Council. Because the Security Council, even not being a member, the Security Council has the powers to indict a country that has committed genocide. Brazil can do that through the ICJ. Brazil, as a member of the United Nations, may not even go to the ICJ. They are free to invoke this matter at the Security Council. And once the Security Council takes it up, if the resolution passes, it is handed to the court, to the ICC. They will no longer escape from it. France will not escape from it. Whoever is a partner, who is a partner in the crime is going to be held accountable. That is what Brazil can do. We're talking about genocide. That's what Brazil can do if we're limiting to genocide. But overall, in our case, Brazil as a country can still table this matter, the whole matter of Ambazonia, the colonization or whatever thing we call it, before the ICJ. It is your right as a member state to decide on these shortcomings of the United Nations General Assembly. That is what happened with the case of Namibia. South Africa refused to leave Namibia until they were sued at the ICJ that the administration of Namibia was illegal. They issued a judgment that was binding on South Africa, and they left, and Namibia became free. And so those are the four different ways by which Brazil, that we're talking about today, can help us not solve only the genocide problem, but also settle the whole idea of this Ambazonian declaration process. That is doable. They can do it as a member of the United Nations. They can do it through the Security Council, through the General Assembly, or even in their own courts, as far as genocide is concerned. Any country can assume jurisdiction over, master jurisdiction over genocide. That is what Belgium did over the Chadian president who fled to Senegal. He was never in Belgium. Belgium, I said, somebody complained that Belgium decided to indict him right in Belgium and said, send this man here for trial. And Senegal did not have the way to send him. They invoked it. They said, well, let us try him. They just want justice to be done. They constituted a court with the African Union and tried that guy, even though he died, but they carried him on a wheelchair to the court. So those are the avenues open to Brazil or any other willing country that might help us. Over to you.
Okay, thank you very much, Barrister Mbeseha. We definitely going to come back to you both to conclude on Brazil's involvement and what they can do legally. You've mentioned four. I like the way you explained the four things and you gave a backdrop